So today's webinar is for 3 things your video is missing to engage and convert. Let's be real, guys. We've all gotten those terrible sales videos sent by a rep using a webcam. It's like 1999 vibes. It just looks bad. It looks cheap, and it doesn't have any personalization about it. The thing is, video can be such an incredibly powerful tool that you really have to take it seriously. And in the words of Uncle Ben, with great power comes great responsibility. So in today's live webinar, first of all, we're going to be doing a takedown of real scripts. So you're going to be seeing that happen. We're also going to give you the best use of video in your outreach, where to use it. We're also going to help you craft messages that create curiosity and then lead to conversions. And we're also going to give you 3 things you can do today to increase your response rate. So before we get started, before I hand over to our amazing host today, I'm going to deploy a couple polls because we got to get a sense check. We got to do a temperature check in this room. So the first poll I'm going to launch, simple. Are you guys actually using video in your sales processes? Yes or no? We need to know. We need to get a sense of sort of what's going on here. Who's using it? Who's not? Really right now, oh my gosh, it's like really 50-50 split. I'm pretty impressed by these numbers just because we have such a large amount who actually aren't. So we've got a really cool opportunity for you guys today to have some super actionable insights on how you can actually get started using video. I'm going to end this poll because we got over 80% completed, just sharing those results with you so that you guys can see over 50% are not using video. It's almost split 50-50. I'm going to deploy the next poll. How are you using video? And this is for those folks who said that they are. So keep that in mind. We want to know exactly what methodology you're using video in, which channels, how are you using video, and when. This looks like it's a really sort of disparate spread here. We've got a lot of folks in different areas, and I know this is multiple choice, so you can select multiple different options here, but this is really interesting. Again, I'm going to stop the poll and share it with you guys so that you can see. Number 1, cold outreach. Number 2 is in deal progression, in follow-ups, next steps, and proposals. And then we have social selling and client nurture. What if we got social selling and client nurture up, right? That's still a possibility. And then the last one here, these are for those folks, those 52% of you who aren't. What's stopping you with using video? How come? Why not? I want to know why. This is also going to be really insightful for Donald and for Chad today to speak to you guys and sort of help you guys get over that barrier. Give you guys just one more minute. Sometimes when I'm doing polls, I feel like one of those people at Sotheby's. It's like going once, going twice, sold. I'm trying to get the number on the poll to as high as we can for the completion rate. So finishing this poll as well and sharing it with you. Number 1, takes too much time. Guys, I get it, but this is all about working smarter, not harder. We want to give you guys the option to be more efficient in your work, especially nowadays. You're going to have to be more efficient with less. So today, this webinar and all these actionable insights are going to actually help you do that. Okay, I know I've spoken a lot. I am sorry. Without further ado, Chad, Donald, please give us an introduction to what you guys are going to be doing for us today, where you guys work, and what your expertise is.
I love it. Tess, that was phenomenal. Guys, give it up for Tess. Little clap emoji in the chat there. My goodness, you're built for camera.
Amazing.
Thank you.
No, I appreciate that. I'll kick us off. So my name's Chad Lakin. I'm the VP for Shootsta here in North America, and we're a video technology company. So we have done lots of things in this space for many, many years, starting things off in Australia and then growing around the world. But I'm so passionate about video, especially across the customer journey and in the sales process, because ever since we started this company, we would create personalized videos for our customers. And we saw the impact that had. We saw the feedback we'd get and just the way it was able to facilitate relationship in our space. And so we love this. We loved it so much. We started building tools in this space. And I'm super excited to join Donald in this conversation today. I think we're going to have a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm super excited to be here, man. Love what you guys are doing at Shootsta, and also for the team at Sales Hacker. Thanks for having me. And for all of you here who are vulnerable to share your feedback and where you are with your video, using video in your sales process and whatnot, we appreciate that. I run let's start off with a podcast. I have a popular sales podcast called the Sales Evangelist. And if you haven't subscribed yet, go check it out. And we have a subsequent sales training company where we work with teams across the globe, helping them to improve their sales game. Sales is already complex right now, especially when you're doing enterprise level selling, or just like in the modern sales arena. We want to make sure that it's not confusing, and we try to give sellers a better way to be able to navigate that path. And today, video is one of those things that we use, and I am a big fan of. So when I got a chance to partner with you guys on this, I was like, shoot, let's do it. And I'm willing to learn as well too. So hopefully we can give you some of those insights and give you some of those 3 things that you can just walk away with and start doing right away.
That's gonna be awesome. And Donald, it was funny when we were connecting up the other week and we're like, I feel like we did this podcast, and you were looking back at your notes, and we were chatting in February of 2020 about putting it on the calendar, and then something happened, and I guess we never got that locked in, did we? I don't know.
Yeah. So now we're gonna back on our podcast
next week. Sounds good. Well, hey, let's dive in, guys. Like I said, we are super excited today to have this conversation, and our goal is really to inspire you all. If you are creating video, and we saw half of you guys already are, let's expand your view around this. What else could you be doing? For those of you that aren't creating video right now, and thanks for sharing some of those challenges, we totally get it. I work with a lot of different companies and teams right now, and so we hear it all. And I think when you look at the time component of it, absolutely, it can take time. Whenever you look at an investment of time, you always want to look at the return as well. So we know in this space, social selling, when we're looking at video selling, all those different components, it is worth the time and effort, but it's about being smarter, like Tess said. So there's a couple of things we're going to cover off today. I'd love to jump into use cases around video. We saw that a big primary one there was that cold outreach video. We've all received the ones, whiteboards, all that sort of fun stuff, which is great. But let's think about, beyond the cold outreach video. So if it's all right with you guys, I want to share with you something that I've been working on recently. Now, this is for the team here at Shootsta, so you're getting a little bit of a look behind the curtain. Now, this is just to really kind of map out for our own team about the different ways that we use video across the entire customer journey. Now, I've zoomed into it. I'm going to scroll around for you guys. But for us, we're looking at the types of videos that map to our products and our services as well, and then how we'd facilitate that. So you can see here, I'll do a quick little scroll across. You can see there's lots of different touch points when you think about the entire customer journey. And just to highlight a few different things. And again, the goal for showing you guys this is, let's think beyond that one video I send to a prospect. How can I use video to better connect with my audience, with my customers? It's not just about doing the deal, but also nurturing that relationship across the entire customer lifecycle. So I'm going to blaze through this real quick, guys. If you got any thoughts, feel free to throw them in the chat as well. Any sort of questions along the way. We want this to be an interactive session. Donald, shout me down if you got any ideas as well as I go through it.
Yeah, for sure. Go for it.
Cool. So if we're looking at kind of the top of the funnel there, guys, that awareness, that outreach stage, one area that, even from the poll that we saw, social selling seemed to be a pretty small factor when we're thinking about videos. And I think, to be honest, in that sort of space, sometimes it can be a little bit intimidating. Social selling is creating content, probably in our space, primarily for LinkedIn, where we're looking at being that thought leader in a space so that when it comes time for that individual within your network to go, oh, I'm ready to buy video, for example. Chad puts out a ton of videos. He's a thought leader in that space. I think about them, I go to them for that. But that takes consistency. You got to be creating video on a regular basis. So when we're talking about social selling, that's a big component of that is regular content production. Now, again, I'm going to kind of show you guys like what we do and kind of how we break that down with our different products as well. So that's what you're seeing here. And really to give you an overview, when I have these labels around the types of products, if it says Elevate, that's going to be like your personalized sales videos, that type of tool. Cast or screen capture videos, lots of tools in that sort of space, whatever you're using. And then Pro is our internal services for creating one-off videos with our production team. So if you've got a videographer, an editor, and you're making your own videos, that's what that green marker is for, is something that's kind of a one and done type of video. So if we think about social selling, we think about using video at that awareness top of funnel stage. How I would approach it here is, we mentioned social selling, thought leadership videos using our product. I can do a quick talking head video with branding on it and music very easily. Just approach that with like, what's the thought of the day? After this event, after this webinar, guys, what's like one key point that you learned from it? And why don't you just make a quick video and post it up on LinkedIn? Make sure you tag Donald and I so we can check it out and like it and share it. But that would be a way that you could leverage something like that, whatever tool you're using. A how-to video is another great way, just to show maybe a micro demo or a product or a part of your service using a screen capture application as well. That can be really useful. And I mentioned micro demos in that if you're selling SaaS, for example, you guys just launched a really cool feature that you're excited about, show people how it works. That's going to garner more excitement in your network. And then something like, client examples, case studies. I'm sure the organizations that you work for, they have customer testimonial videos. Those are really great for sharing out to your network as well. Hey, Donald. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, one of the thoughts that I have, especially when it comes towards that social selling side, easy thing that sellers can do, or anyone, in fact, all you need to do is just look at the top 10 objections you're getting from your prospects. It's one of the easiest things. So you might say, your prospect might say, yeah, this doesn't work in our industry, or this is not going to be a good fit for us, or whatever types of those objections are. The main questions that people ask over and over and over, or go onto your company's website and see the frequently asked questions. Those are some things you can be the thought leader on, because you answer those questions without even thinking on a phone. Do the same thing on a video. And that's where you can go about, at least at the top of the funnel there with social, bringing insights or bringing value to the market. And it's so very simple. I like to think about it like this sometimes. Ignore the camera. Just pretend like you're talking to someone behind a camera. Well, and then next thing you know, it's just so happen to be recorded. And the other piece too, which I think could be really helpful with this, is if you are talking to someone sometimes, like if you're, talking to we've seen one of our best performing social selling videos. I just, Chad, I was talking to one of my team and giving them a training on something, and somebody else recorded it while we were chatting. And it's like it's like reality TV. They're like, so this is what they do back there. And it was just such this huge thing that brought people's attention and gave people, opportunity to learn more about us, and on the gram and also on LinkedIn. So anyways, love that idea, and those things, especially with the thought leadership. I think all of those could fall in that category. And the client success side, it's like, I need to do more of those in those examples. Love it.
Yeah. I love the reality TV component. I never thought about that, Don. I think that's cool. Just have someone on your team, just press record. Yeah. And on a side note, it's interesting. When we first opened the business here, and I'm in San Diego, so when we opened it in the US and we're looking at marketing strategies a few years ago, I was talking to a local marketing kind of, guru. And he's like, man, if I was a startup, and doing this, I would just hire some young kid to just follow me around, capturing content all day and posting it. And I'm like, that's not a bad idea, and so
not a bad idea.
It's cool. It's that behind the scenes, kind of content, which we all love. So let's look at cold outreach, on, because I think, again, that's where primarily our attendees today are spending time making these videos. And again, we've seen that it disrupts the inbox. We know that it helps build connection, with your prospect, with your customer. There are challenges in that sort of space as well. But looking at that type of use case, a little bit later, guys, that's where we're going to look at really unpacking how to create a script that, creates conversion in there as well. But I think as we're making those talking head videos for our prospects, think of it in a couple of different ways. There's also like a templated approach to when you're doing this type of thing. I think that a lot of companies that we work with, or sales teams that we work with, are trying to create videos from scratch each time. And that's where a lot of the time goes into it and the heavy lifting. So we get that feedback a lot. It's like, I got to press record. I don't know what I'm going to say. And then I kind of waffle, and I got to shoot this thing like 20 times before I'm happy with it. And then I got to send it out. It's okay to think about concise messaging when it comes to your content. And again, we're going to spend some time unpacking that today, but don't feel like you have to reinvent the wheel every time you create a video. And there's a few different types, right? So what we're going to look at is kind of that initial touch point today, that cold outreach. It's a quick introduction. Even in that kind of outreach stage, there's multiple ways you can use video. So you can even follow up with a bit more of an explainer type video, again, presented by that individual. One that was shared with me from a sales organization, which I liked, I kind of stole as well, was to catch that attention of your prospect. They're doing a screen capture video going through their LinkedIn profile, because someone sees that, right? They go, oh, that's my profile. Okay, so I know it's for me. It's not a generic video.
Yeah.
They're talking about, why they're reaching out to them today as well. And then you can also even create some templated messaging around social proofs and case studies too. So when you're sharing the value that you bring to other customers, you can create a little message like that as well. But Donald, what do you think about that space? What are you seeing in there? What's working and what's not?
So go back to the one about the LinkedIn. So I was getting really pumped about that. It's very simple. That screen share capability, just share your screen and show from their viewpoint, because everybody wants to see themselves or hear about themselves. So with that template that pops up, whether you use Vidyard, BombBomb, Shootsta, whatever you use for that, they all have that cover idea that gives you the opportunity to be able to just have that thumbnail, so to speak. And that, I feel, grabs my attention a lot when people do that to me. And then the other part to that too is like, if I see my website on the screen, that also gives me, pumped up or get me excited, because I know there's going to be some insight from it. And it also tapers the seller to not feel the pressure that my image alone is on the screen, because you have your image on, maybe on a small portion of it, but the majority of it is the prospects. And then you explain a point or something, it pulls them in to also follow along with you about what you're doing. And you'll see the watch rate of those videos increase significantly as well. And also the other piece that I like as well, and I know sometimes sellers might say like the notion of it's going to take a while for me to create these videos. Like you said, the templates work because the pain point ideally that one of the ICP is facing is going to be the same pain point in many different in many instances. So practice that. And I always say practice before you do the recording. So in your car, practice what you're going to say, or at home. My family get annoyed by me when I'm doing a presentation because I'm sitting here reciting it and doing it over and over and over again. And it's that same notion. If this is your craft, if this is the thing that's going to be getting money in the bank for you, then do it. Like do some practice of it when you're by yourself. But I agree with you 100% there. And then the other part to that too that I think also stands out is if you do use like your phone, like when you use your phone, you have that, the horizontal view, and it's kind of a little bit more like, again, that behind the scenes thing, or we're taking it off the full path for a little bit. And I'm not saying do this for all of them, but maybe you meet someone, you want to send them a quick little note that you're trying to prospect with, maybe to connect with you on LinkedIn. I say, I want to put a face with a name, Chad, and I'm walking out of the office or going in the elevator, or if I'm going to the car, or just like, going to the store. But that human idea that I'm another human being as well, not just a seller, that also brings a little more intrigue into the process. You don't want something that's going to be major distracting, but that does help. And don't do that while driving, by the way. So
I love that, man. Humanizing the sales process, so important. Tess, hello.
Yes. We have so many questions in the chat already.
On
this point, Donald, you mentioned, you're on the phone, going for a walk outside. You want to give somebody a quick, hey. But what about, it looking a little bit not so great? Maybe you got an older phone, the camera quality is not great, the sound quality is not great. How do you really know when to sort of level up, right? Like Donald, you got such a pro setup with you. You got the pro mic, you got the nice background. Are we seeing that that's making a difference? And if so, how do you know when to level up to those more pro materials?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's different schools of thought for this in that vein. And I would say A/B test with it. But the biggest thing, if I can't see you and I can't hear you, then don't do it. Hear, see, and distraction. So, I mean, I love my family and all, and we were talking about this, but my 3-year-old, sometimes, he might try to, you remember that video on CNN that went crazy with the kids running in the background?
Yes.
And that's a cute way, but in some way it could be distracting from the message. So maybe you're in a place where you're not going to have tons of distraction in that sense. Two, lighting is critical. So right now I have my light set up, but I also have a window. So if I'm going to record a video, I face towards a window so the sunlight can come in, because that's going to be the best light you're going to get. And then also the audio. Most of the phones nowadays, especially if it's an iPhone or some of these Samsungs, the microphones they're good quality. I mean, they're not the podcast quality, but they're great quality, so you can pick it up. But if you're out somewhere jogging and you have a bunch of wind, may not be the best thing. I saw someone recently did something there in Chicago, and they were in a park, and they sent something to a prospect, and I was like, bro, that was so perfect, because it's like, it's a human being chilling, and it went with the motion that they were doing. So I would say the biggest component to it is, like, if I can see you and hear you and there's not a distracting process behind it, then great. Now go back to what Chad was talking about as well. Like, if you can't do that for every single client, right? Because then all of a sudden it's going to go back to their time issues. But if I'm top of maybe I'm trying to get somebody, like, grab their attention really, real quick, and I might send something like that on LinkedIn, or I might send that as a follow-up email after my first text email or whatnot. It just gives that another touch, but that's to somebody that maybe is a high value prospect that I'm working with at that point. But where I might personalize it a little bit more. I mean, obviously you want to have a level of personalization there, but that scripting idea may make it it probably would be more for my general outreach. And then if I'm trying to get a high value person, maybe I'd do a little bit more detail with me walking in the park or whatnot. I don't know, Chad, what are your feelings on this?
100%. I would say, don't let technology be the reason that you don't create content, right? And honestly,
can you say that again for the people in the back, please?
In the back, okay. If everyone's listening, don't let technology be the reason that you don't create content, because even if, I'll be honest, your first 20 videos are probably going to suck, guys. It's okay. And that's one of the tasks we give teams that we work with. We're like, make 20 that no one's ever going to see, because it's practice. You got to get comfortable with it. You're going to think you sound super weird when you hear your voice back, all that sort of stuff. It's absolutely normal, but it will become second nature. And I think nowadays, most of where we're at with technology, your phone's probably going to be good enough for this. And so one thing that we do, right now I'm in the office. This is a little bit of a studio space. Like Donald, I've got some lights up here as well. So much I shoot on this now, and it's so easy. So find a spot in your house or in your office. Donald mentioned natural lighting. It's your best friend. If you got a window, please just stand in front of it so it's hitting your face, and that's going to do a lot of the work for you. And then audio is like 80% of the experience. So you can even buy, $20 lav mics on Amazon that plug into your iPhone now if you're worried about that. But you're usually pretty close to your phone. That's not a problem. Now, when we think about the authenticity piece, and there's this balance between authentic and just crap, right? So, but authentic, not crap. And I think that's where, if it feels like you've taken time in your day, I want to give them a quick message. Someone's like, oh, that's real. That's not this like polished thing that just sort of feels manipulated. And I'll give you an example. There was one, this happened 2 weeks ago. We were in between houses. We're staying in this little apartment. I'm making dinner, and I got a connection come through that from ZipRecruiter, and they wanted me to come and talk about video for sales. It's 6 o'clock at night, trying to get the kids dinner, but I'm like, this will take me 30 seconds. Now, with my technology that we have, I have a core message in there, and I've got, this really cool stuff that gets baked into it. I went out on the deck. It's this beautiful country view behind, and I'm just like, hey, Riaz, just wanted to take 5 minutes away from cooking dinner, make you a quick message, share with the team. This is how our technology works, because I know you're interested. Boom, 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 boom. And then I send it off to them. So, I was holding the phone. Normally I have a tripod. I was holding it. It's a little shaky, blue sky in the background. But that type of stuff, I think, is the balance of keep it real and authentic. I value that customer so much that I'm taking 5 minutes out of my day to make him a video in that moment. And he got it, loved it, shared it with the team. So if that's helpful, that's kind of how I would manage that. In your day-to-day video prospecting, from a time point of view, find a spot that is consistently good, so you can just set up and press record.
And I like that too, is like, if you're doing these, like some of, one of our, with our team, what we do, we dedicate like a time period that they're doing that with their outreach. So if it's the top of the funnel, outreach activity with video, they're taking that hour and they know what they're saying, so they can pump out these videos and just send them out to their prospect or put them into their cadence. But that makes a difference, rather than just like, I'm going to do this one, and then later on I'm going to do this. Planning is so important. And I just love that thought too. And it keeps you on to focus on that mindset, because if you're doing phone calls, email, video, videos, like, it's going to get off. You're going to get thrown off. Just focus on killing that one task at that one moment. And I love that idea.
That's the biggest tip for the guys that are having time constraints. It's called batching your content, right? And you can do it a couple different ways. You can do it with your outreach videos and your social content. So even before we go, what's that? I love that idea, the FAQs, the common objections. Write it all out, shoot all those videos, put them in your library, and you just seed them over the next couple of weeks, distribute them like that. And then when you're doing your outreach videos, you got your 50 prospects that you're going to go through. We actually built technology to let our clients do that really quickly, so they're not having to make a whole video each time. They just can contextualize and personalize the intro, shoot the video once, just do a bunch of different intros, and it stitches it all together. So because we recognize the fact that you want to send a lot of videos, but it takes a lot of time, we've kind of cut that down.
Would be so awesome. Really interested to hear, and this has come up in the chat on this point, Chad. What are some tools that can actually help people with building video, so that they're not recording the video, getting it into iMovie, cutting it, uploading it into a drive, sharing the G drive, it kind of not being wonky, permissions are all messed up? How can we make this actually work in an easy way? It's in your inbox. You can see it as the client or as the prospect, and there's no muss, no fuss.
Why are you making me pitch right now? That's not.
Without pitching, tell us what your
Without
product
pitching.
does.
That's it, without pitching. Okay. Yes, absolutely. There are quite a few tools out there in the video space. And again, we've worked with a lot of those different companies and I love them. It's so much fun. We're just passionate about getting people in front of the camera, right? So as I mentioned, we would make these videos just like you said, but with an editor when we started this company 7 years ago. So it would be like teleprompter setup, a script that we would shoot, and then we had an editor that would then add our branding and music and the customer's name on it and B-roll and all that cool stuff. So people loved it. It was really interesting. I'm a big believer of showing and not just telling. So the visuals are really important to us, not just a talking head video, but actually having that B-roll to convey, what we do at Shootsta. So that's why a couple of years ago, we started, you see this product Elevate, we started building AI technology that would do all the post-production really quickly. So recognizing everything you said, Tess, and just to give you guys a quick overview for those that are interested, basically with Elevate, you can create templates with our production team, these core messages, which we'll talk about today, how to script and do all that. The technology will add your branding to it, your lower thirds, all your B-roll. The AI is listening for trigger phrases. So I can talk about Elevate and it'll bring in an example of the application. It'll cut it in as a cutaway within that video. So all of that, gets generated in a few minutes. So that's great for sending off those one-off videos to your prospects. And then we created that hyper batch feature to save you guys time. So you can do, 50 of very similar videos. And then to your point about where this is hosted as well, we found that a lot of the experience around viewing your content is what's around it. So, everyone's gotten like a private YouTube link and you're like, cool, like I got this video from Steve and it's on YouTube. And then I'm distracted because there's cat videos and away I go. So it's really important where that video sits for you guys. And I think this is probably a good jumping off point to start talking about some of these things, because what do you want that prospect or customer to do after they watch that video? You want to keep them within your sandbox as much as possible and guide them to the next stage as well. And I think in that regard, I just want to show you guys, we've just talked about some of that sort of top of funnel stuff here. There's a bunch of stuff within this customer journey. If you kind of look at the nurturing stage, videos for pre-meeting, post-meeting follow-up, all these different, by no means do you need to do all of this. It's really just to inspire you guys to think about other options. One of my favorites is down here. If you go look at what you should be doing in the ghosting phase as well, clients you're not getting a response, make them a quick video. I did one with a prospect. It was a big deal. He was just terrible at returning calls. And this is winter. I'm in San Diego. Weather's beautiful. I go to my backyard. I send him a video. I'm like, John, I haven't heard from you, man. I'm not trying to rub my weather in your face. I know you're in Georgia and you're freezing right now, but I need to know, are we in? Are we out? I will say this. I don't even think he watched the video, but there was almost like this social debt that happened where he felt like he had to respond. So it started a conversation. So anyway, guys, there's tons of stuff here. What I would say, I'm working on one that's probably a little bit more agnostic for you guys. Hit me up on LinkedIn, just / Chad Lakin, connect up. I'll be happy to share it with you guys when it's ready as well. But I think on that note, Donald, should we kind of talk about messaging? Should we sort of dive into the 3 things that we need to be thinking about when we're crafting our video messages?
100%. Let's do it. This is where we're coming in for the meat. Let's do it, guys.
Let's go for the meat. Okay, here we go. Number 1, we talked about personalization. Contextualize your outreach as well. So we see this a lot. So, I have an explainer video that I send to a prospect. That's great. They can go to your website and see that. You need to be thinking about really, how do I make this feel like it's crafted for that individual? Now, there are tons and tons of sales messages coming out that we all get every single day. I find it fascinating. Sequences and all that sort of stuff. I always dive in there because I want to see, like, what are they doing? 99% of it is very similar. And you guys know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes. I get on my soapbox all day for that. That's a different masterclass all in itself. But I feel like, I love football, and when you want, and fantasy's coming up right now, so I'm excited for that. But if you don't like football, but think about any sports, when you have 2 teams running the same exact plays, because you got to understand, like, Chad has a sales force, I have a sales force. If Chad knows he's doing outreach and creating sequence, I'm doing outreach and creating sequence. And you just imagine both of these teams doing the same exact thing at each other. It just becomes pretty boring after a while. And it's like, well, that's lame. And if you saw 2 teams playing football doing the same exact plays, it's kind of like, this is going nowhere at all. So you got to bring something new to the table. And that's why everyone kind of jumped in when they saw a breakup email, because everyone knows what that is. Is there different things you can do? And this is where you can start differentiating some of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the breakup email. With that one, guys, in the video as well, I have fun with it. Have fun with, make it cheeky. That's the cool thing about like adding cutaways and all that sort of stuff. You can kind of put some fun stuff in there as well. So this is where, we want to inspire you guys to be creative. Practical tips on personalization. Okay. So
yeah,
I think where we've seen success with video is the fact that if I make a video for Donald, I want to make sure he's not thinking, oh, that's cool, that's the video that they send to every Donald. So you got to go beyond, insert first name. Okay. That's just not going to work anymore. I've gotten so many people, we make videos for every single person, right? And I've gotten so many people reply back to us and say, I watched that video like 3 times to figure out how you deep faked it to say my name. And I'm like, that would take way too much time. And, this thing's built in 3 minutes. It's done. Like, I just shot the video for you. So whatever you can put in that first section of your script to make sure that your prospect goes, oh, this is for me. So let's say, for example, someone sent me a video and be like, hey, Chad, I noticed on your LinkedIn profile, you got a background in music. Man, I love playing guitar. I saw actually on your Instagram that you just bought whatever it may be. I'll be like, all right, props. This guy, or girl put time and effort into researching me. And then we get into, well, hey, the reason that I wanted to make this video for you is because I figured you might have some of the similar challenges that my other customers in your space face. Are you finding that, it's really hard to find talent right now in the space, whatever that may be, the XYZ, right? You've got me hooked in. There's a reason why you reached out today. I know this is made for me and that you may be able to help me right now. So you're going to have to earn their attention, right? So you got about 4 or 5 seconds to do that within a video. So you want to drop some of those personalization pieces there. Donald, have you seen anything interesting in this space with the work that you've been doing?
Yeah, so we're a big fan of triggers in that too as well. So in my instance, some people like, especially if you're in a marketing space or sales arena, maybe when somebody's new to a role, maybe a good time to hit them up, or perhaps the company received funding. If you're using tools like Crunchbase or Navigator, you can get some of those insights of fundings. And then also maybe if there is the fact that maybe they're hiring or whatnot in those veins. So if that's the case, you can share something on the screen towards that nature, or like you're saying, the screen share. Chad, I noticed that you guys are just you're looking for new SDRs in your organization. And that you guys have grown significantly over the years. Like, that's personalized towards you and towards your company and towards that role. But also then I can come into insights. And the reason why I'm reaching out to you is because we see that 75% of or 60%, make up some whatever your number is, don't make it up. I'm
make up a number.
But it might say something like 30% of or 40% of BDRs don't pan out or have take a long time, take up to 7 months to ramp. If there's a way we can help your BDRs that you're bringing on ramp a little bit quicker, start producing, would you be open to a conversation about that? That, like you're saying, is giving you the personalization, and you're giving that insights that spark that curiosity, and then you're prompting them to give you a simple response, yes or no or whatnot. And I feel that's so critical in that vein. But that's a huge personalization factor. I know people have used the whiteboard ideas as well. Or like if you have, if there's something that's going to be meaningful to them. So again, if I'm really trying to get to your attention, Chad, and you went to making it up LSU, I mean, maybe I buy something on Amazon and I might just have the LSU cup. Or if you talk a lot, and this is another part too, go on podcasts. Chad or VPs or people in roles like this, we go on podcasts all the times. So listen to one of those podcast episodes, and you can then utilize that, again, depending on how much level of personalization you're trying to do. But I might say, hey, I have on a screen, and you could do a quick Google search, just put the person's names, comma podcast or whatnot, and you'll see the podcast they've been on. So I might share on the screen. Chad, I saw that you were on the Sales Evangelist podcast, and Donald never published it. So but then you can say, I love the insight you shared here, and here's the reason why. But that way, or if it's publicly traded organization, pull up their on the screen, pull up their publicly traded information that they have out there, maybe the last earnings report, and use that. Notice you guys mentioned that you're trying to expand and do more remote work. Thought about this, but those pain points or challenges that they have can tie back to it. And then the final piece is also the job title. So maybe for that organization, I might see that the VP of sales at XYZ company, responsibilities are blah 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 blah, and I might put out, hey Chad, I noticed that this is one of your responsibilities, blah 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 blah. You're sharing what they are focused on. And my last one that we use internally right now, we use LinkedIn a lot. So in our sales approach, one of the things that I look at, I pull up a company, only 2% of LinkedIn users are actually posting content regularly, like monthly. So if this is the case, I pull up a company, you can go on there, see who's working in an organization or BDRs, and I can show on the screen, hey, Rob, I know that your team, LinkedIn is a huge component of sales these days. I'm not sure if, I looked at some of your team members, they're not necessarily posting on LinkedIn. I don't know if that's intentional. Obviously, it's not going to be intentional. Curious to find out if if you'll be open to seeing how other sellers are, booking up more appointments or utilizing a LinkedIn strategy, open to learning more. But then that way, again, it's another level of personalization, but I'm sharing my screen on those aspects. And I rambled for a little bit there. So
Dude, I think that's awesome. And I think it's so interesting. Again, what's the value that viewer is going to get out of watching the rest of your video and then continuing the conversation as well? So as much as you can dial into some of those pain points. So you're going to know your customer, you're going to understand, or you should, right? You should understand your customer. They're going to be very similar because of the problem that you solve. They probably have similar pain points. So take a risk on that. Go, hey, and if you can share some of the stories from your other customers, drop their names. I was working with Bob. He's a such and such at this company. They really had challenges in this sort of space. Is that something that you're dealing with right now? If so, man, I'd love to share how we helped them. Super simple. And we'll get into messaging in a second, how you can keep that pretty concise, but make sure that it is for the individual. Now, I will say this, guys. I showed you a bunch of different use cases for video across the customer journey. Not every video has to be hyper personalized. The goal with personalization is obviously to get that meeting, to get their attention. But when you think about the rest of that journey and nurturing that client, you can create more generic videos that you can send out. So for example, I think one of the use cases in there, we create templates around customer stories so that the rep can create a video about the work that we've done with the world's largest CRM company and talk through some of those different points and some of the results that we saw as well. Now that rep can send that video to all of their customers. It feels personal because they've already seen that rep's face in the video that they made for that individual. And so you can kind of rinse and repeat some of this content, but it still feels personal because it's you in it. So that's a couple of different ways that you can save time and really leverage that video for more use cases as well.
Love that.
Let's talk about creating curiosity, because I think it's very tempting to make a video that is an ad. And we've done it. We've totally done it. And I look at scripts as well, and I'm like, this is super informative, but it may not be the best use of that message at that stage when we're thinking about that kind of outreach stage of the customer journey. And so it's very tempting to do that. It's very tempting to go, hey, let me take 2 minutes and tell you everything that we do. If you do that, though, you're betting on the fact that is so cool that they're like, well, I'm in, that looks great. But the problem is, and the challenge is, if they don't understand what you're saying, they've made a decision and they're going to bounce already. So you're kind of like really rolling the dice on that one. What you want to do is just start creating some curiosity so you can get on the phone and have a longer conversation with them as well. So in that case, let's kind of unpack that a little bit, Donald. How do you kind of create those nuggets to go, okay, what's happening next? Like, why would I get on a call with this individual? They've just dropped a couple of nuggets there, but what's the carrot that they're dangling? So have you done any work in this sort of space? Do you see anything that's worked well?
Yeah, I mean, I had a book on my desk, but one of them that I love is called it's like insight-based selling. I can probably drop the link to Sales Hacker afterwards so you guys can check it out. But the notion with this is that you as a sales professional, and I'm just going to go back to this, like, think about the number of clients or people we work with within a certain industry. Like when you come with insight to an executive, they don't want to hear about your features or your benefits. What they want to hear about is what can you provide to me that my internal consultants don't even know or can't provide, or what is there that you can bring to the table that's going to help me out. And again, I want to focus on the individual. So if a VP of sales, it's not necessarily more about the company. It's like, how can it think about their person? They probably have trying to get up the ladder or trying to make sure to hit their numbers, because that's a scary role as a VP of when you're dealing with revenue. So what can I do to help her or help him in that capacity? And that's how I would target it. Focus your pain. So think about all the clients that you work with, your company work with. You can even go into your CRM and look at the first meetings that the sellers had for your clients and see what were the common issues that all of them had. And you can bring some stats on that, based on our internal research. If you looked at 20 of the deals, 75% of our clients, one of the main problems that they had was blank. And now as someone who's looking at that, the data is going to pull my attention. and the problem. And then I'm going to say, crap, that makes sense. And then you obviously want to transition that. But that's one way you can look at it, is just use that insight that you're already gathering, because you are a consultant. Because think about all the people that you talk to. And even if they don't become clients of yours, when you have your discos or your discovery calls with prospects, you're gathering insights and information. Some company pays McKinsey hundreds of thousands of dollars for that knowledge, and you have it. But do you make it in the process, make it and create, use it to create curiosity with with your prospects? So that's what I would share with you. And I would say, check out that book. I think it was put in the chat already, how you can use the insights to help you in your sales approach. And then for us, like, again, we use data, like, the new hires, we use data, like, say, for instance, if there's a, like, maybe the close rate, we see, like, quota, or target, on target hitting. We use some of those insights as well that we know are going to be challenge points for our sales leaders. And pretend like you're in marketing, or pretend like you're in, you're reaching out to HR directors. There's so many other things. If it's, one of my clients right now, one of my friends, he works a lot with folks who are dealing with, like, workplace issues, and especially with the remote environment, that's a huge one for HR departments. What kind of insights have you been able to gather your company, if HRs are your focus, and use that to spark their curiosity? Like, 75% of companies who have remote based employees are seeing blank. Like, that would pull me in, because more than likely that blank is something that I'm facing as the HR director. But that's how I like to help sellers with that insight. Or you can go down with another route, which is the, more of like a, again, we talked about, like, the common problems that people have, and just more of like a listicle. Some of the people that we work, some of the HR directors we work with are seeing blank, blank, and blank. Is that something that you're experiencing as well? That's another approach that you can use. So that's how we do it. And that's how we do our training programs. If that makes sense.
Yeah. And I think it's also creating a little bit of mystery around it as well, right? So data points are huge, because that adds value. The person that watches your video, like, say, if they never talk to you, at least they're learning something, and you're kind of creating a little bit of a social credit with that individual. And then it's that, like, even when we look at messages like, hey, we've been able to help Steve create da, 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 it's really been because of a combination of X, Y, Z, and some more that I'd like to unpack with you on our call. If this is interesting to you, I'd love to continue the conversation. And that kind of takes us to the call to action, right? So when you're looking at video content, man, think about your call to action. What do you want that person to do? This is, by the way, this is in regards to any type of content that you create. So, we work with a lot of amazing brands around the world. LinkedIn is one of them, Salesforce, all these guys creating video content for them and leveraging our technology. So when you think about, even if I'm creating a social video, or I'm creating an internal comms update, or a training video, what do you want to get from that person? What do you want to elicit from them? So there is the emotional aspect of it, and then there's the action after. So after I watch this video, I want this individual to do what? Let's say it's an HR video. I want this individual to go and do our pulse survey, right? So we have the end in mind when we create everything that comes before it. In sales videos, it's simply kind of like, hey, so, like, let me know what you think. Great. And it's a weak call to action. You want to make it as easy as possible for the individual watching that video to take that next stage. So a frictionless process. And we talked earlier about the environment that video sits on. Ideally, you want to be able to have a call to action button that's just right under the video, right? Or if it's an overlay in YouTube or whatever that may be. So think about what you want that person to do. I would probably say 90% of you want them to book a meeting, right? So set up a system like Calendly, HubSpot meetings, they've got their calendar link. Google Calendar has this now as well. Make it really easy. So a lot of times the call to action is going to be, if you're curious about learning more around what we do and how we can partner you, just grab 15 minutes below. That's going to work for you. And I look forward to meeting you face to face. So that's a very clear call to action. Now, in some instances, you may look at 2 call to actions. I wouldn't go beyond 2, but there's different pathways here. So it could be, but maybe you're not ready to have a conversation, which I totally understand. In that case, you can click the button over here to download our white paper, which everyone loves, or, register for this on-demand webinar, or, check out our customer testimonials below this page as well. You want to be tracking that. Obviously, you want to be tracking the engagement on that page in the video, because that's going to help influence what you do next in your follow-ups as well. But that's kind of my thoughts on creating that call to action. It's very straightforward on what you want that customer to do next.
Yeah. No, I like, for me, one of the things that we've done is go back to what you shared, like the Calendly embed link, or, give some time options below. Just a simple thought. And Google, again, you mentioned, like, some of these other platforms have this now. if you take the work out of it for the prospect, so let's say, for instance, because as I'm going through my emails, I'm trying to figure out which ones are going to be the easiest for me to tackle right away. And if there's work behind it, like sometimes I may have to read something and put a little bit more thought into an answer or whatnot, or go find something and, to reply to someone. But if you can make it simple for me as a seller, watch a video, and then maybe you have those times embedded in that email, you can, give me some options. I can click on one of those, or like you said, the second thing is click on the link and just go find one. But if I can just see right there below and see the times, I can just hit that real quick, and then with the embed time, and I can start booking that meeting rather than thinking, well, later let me go look at my schedule and pull up their Calendly and see what's available. But that's I like that. Or what I like to do is, especially in my first outreach, is to get just like a reply, yes or no.
Yeah.
With that, and once I have that engagement, then I know how to go from there, because we're multi-threading at this point. So I'm connecting on LinkedIn as well, and then using that the email as another point. And one strategy we did, one of our best ones in our emails outreach, in the video, is left a voicemail. So I would, maybe call, leave a voicemail, and leave the voicemail as my commercial, like say, hey, Chad, I'm going to send you a quick video, introduce myself. Now it prompts you to go to the other platform, look at the video, and then the email is like video dash. I left the voicemail. It's like, what voicemail did you leave? And then either way, it prompts them to look at it and watch it. And we've had people use those and reply to those, and it caused the engagement to go up. We're using most two platforms to help with that. And then if I drop a LinkedIn message, I might say, hey, Chad, this is Donald. I'm the guy who sent the awesome video to you. Permission to connect here on LinkedIn. I mean,
in multi-threading is so important. I think it's a really good point, Donald, is that guys video is not going to be the magic bullet. If you make a bunch of videos and you send it out as your first email, you might have some success, but you got to be smarter than that. So just quickly, how we would structure things, and absolutely what Donald's, I agree with what Donald's saying 100%. Use video in like your third touch point on email. You want to warm up that email address a little bit, really minimal, when you're doing sequences using outreach, and really minimal sort of text in there as well. You're getting through spam filters, and then bring in your personalized video, and then follow-ups, and then, customer case study videos of it. But not every email doesn't need a video in it, but you also want to be hitting them up on LinkedIn. So connection requests, because some people, I was working with an agency earlier this week, and he's like, well, we help people with scaling their LinkedIn connections and all that sort of stuff, but don't send a video as part of every connection request, because then you're like, man, this is taking forever. Okay. So the ones that accept your connection request, great. Send them a video.
Yes.
There's a couple of things there. And I love the phone is not dead. Use the phone. You're building that rapport just by them hearing your voice, and then you send them a video, and now they got a face to the name, and it's all part of one experience. So do it all. It's all still really relevant. Should we get into some scripts? I know we got about 10 minutes left. Let's do it. Thank you to those that sent through some of their scripts. We so appreciate that. Donald and I were looking through them this morning. There's a couple that we picked out just because we thought there'd be some good examples. There's one I want to jump to just first. Now, Ira, if you're here, give us a shout out in the chat. I wanted to show this script because I thought it was actually a really good example of social selling that we touched on earlier. So not necessarily doing something like this as a cold video, because I think it's just really well purposed for something that adds value to the client in a more social setting or just a quick tip setting. So how I would use this video, I'd probably create a template around it, bring in some B-roll, so it kind of creates a little bit of a story. But I love how, Ira here is just talking about like these three simple things. It adds value to that individual. You could post this on LinkedIn as a generic thought leadership video, or use that template to then send it to a prospect as part of more of a nurture sequence as well. And so you could frame it with, hey, Steve, I just want to send you this quick information, thought it might be relevant, something I've been thinking about for a little bit. And it's sort of like, great candidate slipping through your fingers. Check this out. So I just wanted to give Ira a shout out here. I think that it's really concise, and good job.
Yeah, and I'm a big believer of how concise this was as well, and the simple fact that I could relate to right out the gate. I speak to top performing clients every single day. If I'm scrolling through LinkedIn and I see that, I'm like, bro, that sounds like what I'm going through, and then it pulls me into keep going further, and it just makes you sound relevant. because it's like you're doing this every single day. You're bringing some more value, you're bringing insight to the table. So anyways, great stuff.
Good stuff, Ira. I want to see this video. DM it to us on LinkedIn. All right.
Yeah, please.
Do us. All right, Todd. Todd, if you're give us a thumbs up here, man. I thought this was great for us to just kind of unpack in the little bit of time that we left here. So this one's the script for your ADS. Now, I will say this, Todd, I think that I like the messaging in this. Obviously, you guys have taken time to really learn how to communicate what you guys do. But if we're going to kind of workshop this a little bit, I would say it's probably too much for something that's higher in the funnel. You might lose them with all this sort of stuff in the middle. So really, it's about how do we break this down and kind of make it a little bit more concise as a first touch point style video. So a couple of things here, we talked about it earlier today, is contextualizing and personalizing that intro, really doubling down on why you're sending it to that person, what you've seen in their background, where you think this might be relevant, and then keeping the middle bit pretty short. So looking at things, highlighting a couple of things here where you're talking about, we work with prescribers to gather all the documentation required, thus getting all the diabetic products your clients are qualified to receive. So this is really kind of how you help that company. And then you do all the heavy lifting. I love this bit. We do all the heavy lifting so you can stay out of the weeds and focus on areas of business that are helpful and truly impactful. Okay, now we're talking about a pain point that I have as an individual. Maybe look at, if you have this data, how much time do you save your clients on average each week? Use that as a data point in your messaging. And it could be something like, for example, we save our clients on average 3 hours per week so they can focus on the things that really matter in their business, as well as increase customer retention by 20%. I'd love to tell you more about this. It's a mix of our, incredible team, technology, blah, 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 and some secret sauce thrown in there as well. If this would be interesting or helpful for you, click the link below, grab some time in my calendar, and we get to know each other. Something like that. It's really pretty concise, 30 to 60 seconds. Max is what I'd be looking for here. What do you think, Donald?
Yeah, and I think with Shootsta you have this too, where when I get the video, does it indicate how long the video is?
Yeah, you can see how long the video is, and that's a good point. Even in your email message, let them know this is 30 seconds.
Yeah, and so you can, in some instances you may be able to, if you're trying to, concise stuff, maybe you could just go right in, or right at the gate, tell them like, hey, this is going to be 30 seconds. In 30 seconds, I'm going to tell you this. What it is, but you just go right into it. And I like the story with some of the imagery that was here. If you go down to the second paragraph, it says, imagine having a dedicated team providing you smooth and easy transition from your client's old platform to, so forth. We can condense some of that. But the point though is, like, in my mind, I am visualizing that as the organization, as the provider, because that's going to pull me in to see and to put myself in that same perspective. And then also, I think the other part to this that I really like, you highlighted on the bottom, the third paragraph, the result would be a more satisfied customer base that is loyal to you and applying that, that satisfies into, that transition into. Again, you're making me seem like what the result is going to be for myself when you stack up all the pain points at the very top of this. And then it just makes me easy to say, crap, this sounds great. Sounds like what we are dealing with, and I would be open to going forward with this person. So I like those components here with it. And then look forward to hearing back from you. The last part, you look forward to hearing back from you and being a resource you've been looking for. As you can imagine, service plan popularity, blah, blah, blah. If you feel that support, I would just have a stronger call to action at the very end though. If it's going to be in that capacity, give me something direct.
Absolutely. I love that. And I would say this, just as a last note for you, Todd, as well. This could be a really great second, third, fourth stage type of video. Almost think of it as an exterior. As Donald said, you're imagining the visuals attached to some of this sort of stuff. Again, we would build it as a template with B-roll, and it tells the story in a more expanded framework for those clients that maybe saw your first video, didn't reply to you yet, but maybe they're interested, and then you send them that. It kind of unpacks it a bit more. So thank you, Todd, for sending that through. Guys, we've got about 4 minutes left. I want to say thank you so much for coming along today. I'm going to hand it back to Tess for some quick housekeeping.
Wow. Okay. First of all, everybody give it up for Chad and Donald today. The insights and information today was stellar. I mean, you guys hit it out of the park. If you guys enjoyed today's webinar, please put the clapping hands emoji in the chat, please, as they did for me at the beginning. I got to return the favor, guys, because it truly was spectacular. And additionally, a super, super, super special shout out and thank you to the Shootsta team for making today's webinar happen and for us to be able to bring all these amazing insights, information, actions to you guys in the comfort of your own home.